And today we're going to review the Cragganmore 12-year-old Speyside Single Malt Scotch. Well, welcome to Noel's World of Whiskey. And I did a review not too long ago of the Cragganmore Special Edition Port Finish. And I was impressed enough with it, and I said, you know what, I'd like to try their regular 12-year-old. I think it's bourbon, aged in bourbon casks, and my understanding is it is sherry finished. I have read a few reviews on it. This is their core range, and let's take a peek at the bottle. So, typical of what I'm seeing with Cragganmore, very simple label. One of the complaints I heard of the reviewers saying why they think this doesn't get more acclaim is it's not a visible label. I'm not sure if I agree 100% with that. There's the box, and yeah, no, you know, it's not a big name. It's subtle. I always like to show you a really well-made box. Anyways, I better make sure that's back in there before we have an accident. So we've poured a dram here. I'm going to let you take a peek at it. My understanding is that all their Diageos are pretty much colored there. So we'll take a look at it up against the white background there. So Cragganmore is, or was, selected by United Distillers way back in 1988 as one of the classic malts. It represented the Speyside. And of course we know United Distillers, it eventually became Diageo. Who are the other five here? We've got Talisker, Oban, Lagavulin, Glenkinchie, and Dalwhinnie. So this might be the least known of the classic malts. And in my previous video on this guy here, I called it the forgotten distillery or the unknown distillery. So, but anyways, let's get into it. Let's give it the nose. It's a gentle nose. Just a trifle of smoke. Just a trifle of peat. We'll say a whiff. I'm getting fruits, a little bit of pear, apple, lemon, and floral, cinnamon. Maybe even a wee bit of ginger, some cereal notes, malt. I'm going to say biscuity. You know, almost pastry. Yeah, nice nose. The palate, Slàinte. I'm getting more of the peat. I'm getting a little bit of that Cragganmore, as I mentioned on this guy here, the port finish. Maybe the lighter side of Loch Lomond. If Loch Lomond had a lighter presentation. The worm tubs, possibly, as I mentioned in my previous video. Now they do have wooden washbacks, and they have an unusual shaped still there in their spirit still. It has a flat top, and the lid arm goes out the side, the very top. out the side, and it has a downward angle into the worm tub. So, and that supposedly does contribute to its taste. But of course, the fir washbacks, or pine washbacks would definitely have some contribution there. And we talk a lot about wooden washbacks, how they the fermentation that is happening in the wood, we produce enzymes, and it does affect the taste of the whiskey. So, but it seems these distilleries that have the worm tubs, it's just that signature taste, eh? And I'm starting to get to where I can identify it, and this has that taste. But bit of cinnamon, as I mentioned in the nose there, a lot of your white fruits, pears, apples, and the malt notes, cereal notes, tasting a bit of the pastry. And I'm going to top it off here. Slàinte. So we're getting more of that peat. Geez, when I do a review of Cragganmore, I bet you I've got the same descriptors. I'm going to say the honey is alfalfa honey. Alfalfa to Manuka, somewhere in between. There is some spicy stuff going on. I'm going to say baking spices. I mentioned the cinnamon. Just a wee bit of savory stuff going on. It's got a bit of meatiness to it for 40% ABV. It's got something to offer. What I'm finding with the Cragganmores, these are 40 presentations, and one of the things I find is, like, I was for a while boycotting the 40% whiskeys, but then I started realizing that Diageo's got these incredible distilleries, and yeah, it's a little upsetting they're not doing 46 or at least 43 on some of these. In all fairness, the Clynelish was a 46, so thank you, Diageo. Well, I mean, it's still chill filtered and color added, but I'm starting to learn to live with this, because if it changes, it changes. But are we going to deprive ourselves the opportunity to enjoy a Cragganmore because it has color added, and because it's 40% ABV, and because it's chill filtered? We're assuming it's chill filtered. We get no information on the bottle or the box, so these are assumptions, because if they're not mentioning it, then you assume it. But I really do like this stuff, so let's go for the finish. Again, I'm getting a little bit of that very slight, almost peat, or a heathery peat, like you might get with up in the Orkneys, but a little bit lighter, than, let's say, a Scap or a Highland Park. Fruity. Now there is supposed to be some sherry finish in this. How much? It's light. It's not. It's definitely not. It's not as noticeable as in some other presentations. I'm definitely not a sherry bomb, let's put it that way. In fact, it is very, very, very little sherry influence on this. So we definitely have a short medium finish, and it's a nice presentation. It's got some character. It's got some layers. I think the initial taste I got here was that taste you get with a Cragganmore, which I like. And like I was describing it, the lighter side of Loch Lomond. You know, in the other video, I think I mentioned one other. It was Mortlach, yeah, maybe the 12 Mortlach, you know, might be similar to it. I drink those on a regular basis, and that's how you sort of remember that taste. But I really do like this stuff, and it's not complex, but it is a little more interesting than, let's say, a Singleton. And some of your Glenlivets, you know, and Glenfiddichs. There's some character to it, you know. For, you know, comparing it with other 40s, you know, like a Cardew or a Dalwhinnie 15, you know. I just think there's a little bit more to this, you know. So overall, I was going to score it, and I just thought I didn't do water on the on this guy here when I did the review. I'm just going to give it a little touch of water. Let's just see what happens with a touch of water. Usually a 40, I'm cautious because what you end up doing is you end up drowning it. But we're going to be very careful and make sure we don't drown it. So let's just give it a wee bit. There we are. So one of the things that the reason we do water, it does open it up. But if we do too much water because of a low ABV, and also, you know, there isn't a lot of body to the whiskey, it's a really light whiskey, that can definitely take away you know, some of what you've been enjoying. So now I did let this sit for about 10, 12 minutes prior, and with the water I'm just going to give it a little swirl, and then we'll see what happens here. Okay. Oh, that now we get caramel notes. Caramel, I'm going to say, oh, here it comes, butter tarts. Definitely butter tarts. Yeah, maybe even some cinnamon buns. Floral. And, you know, the floral is actually really coming out all of a sudden. So the water kind of really opened up the floral notes. Sometimes it'll do the opposite. I think that, again, too much water. But so adding water didn't hurt the nose. And definitely, you know, I can smell the cinnamon and the baking spices. Okay, Slàinte. So, spice, wee bit of pepper, nutmeg, back to the cinnamon, and the caramel didn't drown everything. Sometimes you add water and that sweetness drowns everything, but it didn't drown everything. I'm still getting a little bit of that that light, very light peat. But the lemon and the tartness is kind of gone. But I am getting some apple. Yeah, there's, you know, a couple drops of water. I wouldn't add any more. It doesn't seem to hurt it. What would I score this? This, you know, I gave the other bottle. What did I give it? I've forgotten. It was an 85 or an 86. This is an 84, 85. You know, I'm sort of excited with the port finish, and I do like this. I'm not jumping up and down like I was with the port finish, but then again, maybe I was just not expecting it, and maybe it was the mood or whatever. But this is close. It's a little different. It is definitely I think maybe more bourbon influence, or the other was maybe more port influence. Because I think the sherry is not huge on this. So. But it's definitely an 84, 85. I mean, for some of you, this might be an 85, 86, or even higher. It's an interesting whiskey. I don't usually, have marks like this for 40%, so I think that tells you that it might be worth exploring, Cragganmore. Check it out. Price-wise, we're talking $90 bucks in Canada, so it's got to be a heck of a lot less, 25, 30% less in the States, and I don't know what it is in euros, but I think it's a very affordable whiskey. This was a whiskey that, some reviewers said was one of the more complex whiskeys and one of the more complex distilleries. In fact, a lot of the early critics, and we're going back 30 years or so, 35 years, they call this the most complex Speyside dram. It might not be today, but it is quite unique. It does have a lot of character, so I'm going to leave that one with you. Cragganmore, 12. So until the next time, I'm going to ask you to drink wisely, drink intelligently, and do not drink and drive so much.